In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and upon all of those who follow His footsteps. Once again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon each and every one of you. We have actually a pretty short time till Maghrib prayer, perhaps 10 to 15 minutes, at which point we'll break and resume, inshallah, God willing, after the prayer. Cool? Okay, so we resume today with coverage of yet another important name, attribute of God. And it's the name that is presented to us in the Quran in a manner that really calls our attention and in a manner that suggests that this name is pretty significant. And it's the name As-Samad. Now I want to ask you right off the bat, have you heard of this name? Right. Where have you heard of this name? Where have you run across this name?
Class.
Right. So in a chapter in the Quran. And it happens to be which chapter? One of the smallest chapters, one of the smallest surahs. And I bet you anybody who's grown up as a Muslim or became Muslim at one point in their lives, it's the first chapter they memorize. Isn't it true? Agree? So how many times have we recited this chapter? Countless times. Isn't it true? And it's the only chapter that contains this name. It's mentioned just one time. Unlike other names, Rahman, Rahim, what did we cover last time? The most gracious, the most merciful. And perhaps at the end of the session we'll go back and ask the question, how many of us have had the opportunity in the last 2 weeks to check on themselves whether they have been able to perform any of the action items that we spoke about, as far as coming towards Allah, God Almighty, as the most merciful, sensing His mercy, asking Him as the most merciful with all of your needs, and ultimately embodying that mercy with creation around us. Maybe some of us have had the opportunity to reflect deeply, maybe some of us never bothered, maybe some of us are just too busy to ask the question. This is a question you have to ask yourself. But we'll come back at the end as we examine or reflect on the action items for today's name. We'll also ask the question about the other name, the first names that we've learned. Because once again, the objective is to leave each session with a more intense desire to live up to the standards of that name. To know Allah as the one having that quality. He did not randomly choose these names for Himself. He chose these names for Himself as a message to all of us, saying, come to know me with these attributes. I'm not just a fictitious God or an absentee landlord that created creation and just left them to their own disposal to just live their lives. I'm intimately involved in your lives beyond your imagination. And if you want to know me, since I am infinite, and your mind that is finite can never comprehend the infinite, I want you to know me through these attributes. And once you find me through these attributes and learn about me through these attributes, you're going to grow in love with me. So today's name is another anchor. Just as the first names that we've learned about, what were they? What's the first name we've learned about? Allah. Why is it distinct? It's the personal name of Allah. Look at how generous and kind He is. He tells you, here's my personal name. I want you to call me with this name. And it's my personal name. I don't want you to just call me with a title. No, my personal name. And it's the name that encompasses all the divine attributes of Allah. As if, when you call Him with that name, you're calling with all of His powers and treasures to come to your aid. How many of us have sensed that word? Allah, right? And with its extraordinary impact on your heart, your soul, and your journey. Then we moved on to the two critical attributes that are contained in the phrase of Islam, which is what? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Why did He put those two key attributes that address different aspects of His mercy? To emphasize the notion, right? And to remind you, before I am anything else, I am the most merciful. More merciful with you than your own mother. How many of us know Allah as such? Then the rest of the names come in the Quran. Today's name happens to be also an anchor name. Where is the evidence for this? Well, it happens to be located in a chapter in the Quran that Allah has most of us memorize, right? Because it's so short. Most of us recite But I ask you the question, how many really know the meaning of the word or attribute or name as-Samad? How many of us? I tell you, until old age, I never even bothered to ask the question. Because we are robotic in our nature, and we Muslims, in many instances, behave like this. We just never bother to reflect deeply on the message of Allah to us, on things that we say daily, regularly. We never bother to ask why that name there. What message is that surah, that chapter sending to me? I tell you why it's significant in another reason related to this surah. This surah, according to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what does he say about the weight of this surah, this chapter? Clearly, different surahs have, the entire Quran is so precious and dear. It's divine, right? Verbatim word of God. But this chapter happens to be very weighty. What did the Prophet say sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding its weight? Even though it's like few verses, very short, right? قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. The translation of it is as follows. I want you to really pay attention to the words. Here's Allah introducing Himself to us in this short chapter. What does He say to the Prophet? Say. Not only for the Prophet to say the words, but to educate and teach others to repeat and understand and reflect upon the meaning. He says in this surah, in this chapter, say, هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Qul, say, it is He, Allah, remember the first name. And then what does He say about Himself? Ahad. What does Ahad mean? One. As opposed to plural, as opposed to what? A couple, as opposed to somebody with partners. What does He emphasize the most in this chapter? I am one. So this is anchoring our entire understanding of our faith, of our existence, of who God is. He's defining Himself to us. He says, listen, I'm not like you. I'm infinite. I don't have partners. I don't have a spouse. And he'll explain more. Then He says, say to everybody, emphasize, remind, I am one. I'm not a dual. Like here on earth, everything comes in pairs, by the way. Everything in creation is in pairs. Even plants. I was shocked when I heard this. Like, plants? Wow. They come in pairs. Animals, creation, human beings. Everything comes in pairs. Even if you go into the nucleus, what do you have? Positive and negative. Isn't it true? Wow, everything is coming in pairs to allow life to exist. Why is he allowing creation to exist in pairs? To point to what? There can be only one who created the pairs. Well, there must be a creator and a designer. And if the designer is one, right? He's saying about himself, I'm the only one who exists in one. Everything else is in pairs. It's a message for you to reflect. Look at everything around you. It's in pairs pointing to the one. Make sense? So that's the first key thing He emphasizes in this chapter. Then He says, Allahu Samad. Here's the other one that we might be scratching our heads like thinking, what does Samad mean? Right? Has a lot of meanings. Then He says, Lam yalid wa lam yulad. He does not beget, nor is He begotten. Emphasizing something that we also human beings attributed to God, which is either that He has sub-deities working with Him, He has partners, or in many cases, some human beings have said what? Well, He has a child, He has a son, right? Or He has daughters. Some accuse Him of having daughters. The angels are the daughters of God. So that He somehow begot others. Or worse, to be begotten. So what is He emphasizing here? He says, think better. I'm divine. I'm your creator. I cannot come from another, otherwise I'm not God, right? I cannot be begotten by somebody. That means I have a finite beginning. Does that make sense? I have a finite beginning. How can I be God in control of everything? God by definition is independent of everything. He has no beginning and no end. So if I have no beginning, how can I have a father or a mother, right? I'm not like you. Don't try to make me like you. Otherwise I'm not divine. I cannot be your creator, if you were to think. Nor do I beget. I do not have children. That's a human quality, human feature. I'm not human. Don't make me like one. I beget, nor am I begotten. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. And He says He never had anybody with Him. Never. Even the angels are merely servants of God. The best of creation. Servants of God. Everything serves God, is a creature of God, and He's always been by Himself. Does not need anybody else. So what you notice what the surah is emphasizing this chapter, and we'll explain what samad means. Why is the Prophet going to say about this surah it weighs how much? Who can tell me? 1/3. You see this amazing, noble Quran with its message, glorious message, how it guides and changes our lives, right? He's saying, look at the meaning of this entire Quran, right? It's our constitution and guide. If it has 100% value, weight, this chapter in terms of its significance and meaning weighs as much as 1/3 of this Quran. Now I ask you the question, why do you think he's saying this? What's significant about this chapter that would make its weight worth 1/3? What is it emphasizing? And I wanted to relate this to the greatest verse in the Quran. What's the greatest verse in the Quran? What is it? Ayatul Kursi. And we should have the opportunity to explore that. What is specific about those two things that would make this verse the greatest and this chapter among the greatest, weighing 1/3 of the Quran? What is it talking about? Exactly. Allah, God, who He is, His key qualities, and His oneness. So wherever you run into a situation in the Quran where there's emphasis on the key qualities of Allah, especially His oneness and our dependence on Him, is going to see an elevation of the status of those verses. Make sense? Okay, so I emphasize one of them in this chapter. This is how weighty it is, His oneness. And us coming to understand and comprehend and believe in that. But what is the other meaning there that he's trying to emphasize? Because remember, this is a surah that introduces us to Allah. He's saying, if you want to know me first as the one, your creator. There's no partners with me. If there's something else I want you to know about me, since in this amazing chapter that all of us memorize, and he made it so readily memorizable, what is the other thing that he's anchoring this chapter with is the word what? As-Samad. Doesn't that tell you we better know what it means, right? How can we live without understanding the second anchor of this chapter? The second anchor of this chapter. So once again, the first anchor is the oneness of Allah, oneness of God. He's emphasizing it in this chapter that all of us memorize, grew up memorizing. I am one, none with me, no partners, no associates. Remember this, he's saying. Everything is in pairs except me. I do not beget. I don't have children. I don't have sons or daughters. I'm not like you, don't make me like you. Nor do I have a father or mother. I am God. God is distinct. God is unique. God is incomparable. Right? That's the fundamental Islamic notion. Right? We're His creation. Then He wants us to, as He's introducing Himself to us, look at the kindness and generosity and mercy of God. That He wants us to come to an intimate understanding of who He is, but He wants us to know Him as the one possessing these qualities first. I am one, and then He says, I am a Samad. What does Samad mean? Before we break for the prayer, here is a quick rundown of the meanings, and we're going to emphasize one key one amongst them. So according to many Arabic lexicons, here are some of the meanings. The most fundamental of them, and perhaps the most emphasized here, is the one who is eternally besought. What does besought mean? Sought, right? So the one who is sought for the fulfillment of needs by everyone eternally. Another meaning, He is the obeyed master. So this word is used in Arabic even to refer to humans in different capacities. The one who is, or the obeyed master, a master that you obey, without whom nothing can be executed. You know, the one that you need to seek the permission from for everything, your boss, as far as work is concerned, your father in the household. Who is that one in your life, in the various positions that you occupy, that you need to seek, the master, the boss, that you need to seek and get their permission to execute a task? That's called in Arabic Samad. So he defines himself as what? As-Samad, the Samad, right? The master, eternal. It means there's no end to his tenure. Like a boss can have an end to their job. They have they can be expelled. They can be they have to resign. They suddenly lose power and the ability to control or dictate whether a matter can be executed or not. But he said about himself, no, not me. I'm eternally the master, and I'm the only one that is sought in the execution of all affairs. It has to come back to me for permission. What else? A fourth meaning is the one who prevails, staying through it all, means he's permanently there and outlasts everyone. Outlasts everyone. And we'll talk more about this notion of the conditions that are required for somebody to last. I'll give you a quick example here. I have a minute. You know, suppose you're stranded on an island, right? And food and drink runs out. Who is likely to outlast everybody? Right? Or you're in a race. But a better example is with food and drink. The one who can last with their hunger and thirst. Isn't it true? The rest will perish, and the one who can really fast the longest and abstain and be able to survive without food, nourishment, and drink is the one who can do what? Who can do what? Last longer. It's true? Right? Very simple notion. Well, does God eat or drink? Does he need to be nourished by somebody? None. Just by that logically, since he is not nourished, nor does he need anybody to feed him or give him drink, he doesn't drink or eat, that means what? According to our definitions, he can do what? Outlast everyone permanently. He's eternally there because he doesn't even need food or drink. And finally, he is the lofty and sublime. All these meanings are contained in the word as-samad. We're going to emphasize one of them by stating Al-Ghazali, the extraordinary scholar, what he emphasizes as the key definition of as-samad that has the most to do with us and that has everything to do with the message of Allah to you in that chapter. He's saying to all of us, if you want to know me as as-samad, it will change your life. What is that among all these meanings? What is the key one that is emphasized? Inshallah, we'll pick up after the salah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم. Assalamu alaikum. If those who are staying, if you can take a seat. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and upon all of those who follow his footsteps. Again, Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon each and every one of you. Resuming with an explanation and exploration of the name of Allah, the name of God Almighty, As-Samad. And once more, I've emphasized that this is not just one of those, just another name of Allah. It's a real key and anchor name. So much that Allah, God Almighty, placed this key attribute of Him to introduce Himself to us in one of the key chapters of the Quran that had two central pillars. Surah Al-Ikhlas, that speaks or through which Allah introduces Himself to His creation by emphasizing two key things. First, I am one, the one, not a pair, not someone with associates. Know me as such. I do not beget nor am I begotten. Then He says, know me as as-samad. And we've explained the number of definitions, but the ones that stand out the most are the obeyed master. And He doesn't say about Himself, I'm just another master. No. You have a lot of masters that you subjugate yourself to. I am the master who is obeyed. Everything submits to me. Whether you see it or you don't see it, everything submits to me. Even the sun and the moon submit to me. The orbits through which they run submit to me. The mountains and the plants, and you ultimately submit to me, cannot get outside of my will. I'm the obeyed master who's constantly sought in times of need and for the fulfillment of all needs. That's really the most essential kind of definition of this name. Al-Ghazali, the extraordinary scholar that all of us are familiar with, says in a nutshell, as-samad this name that we've grown to recite so much, but unfortunately have known so little about, means the one, only one who can do this. The one to whom one turns in need, and the one who is also intended in all of our desires. In all of our desires. So he's the one that everyone turns to in times of need. In times of that difficulty, we find ourselves calling upon God, right? And sometimes we seek Him without us even knowing. Our desires, our yearnings inside of us, spiritually, emotionally, you're yearning for something, and you might not know that you're yearning for Him to fulfill those very needs that you might not even be aware of. He is the object of those desires. That's what Al-Ghazali says. So in a nutshell, it means the one who is sought in everything by everyone. Notice, everything, not just humans, everything in His creation seeks Him for the fulfillment of their needs. But what kind of needs? All needs. What does that mean? Physical, material needs. I want health. I want to grow, right? I want strength. I want healing, physical healing. The only one who can do all of this for all physical needs is Allah. What about spiritual needs? We know inside of us there is a yearning for something to fill a void inside of us. Spiritual needs, so to speak. The needs of the heart. Who's the only one who can fulfill them? He says about himself, I'm the only one who can fulfill them. Go search east and west. At the end of the day, your spiritual needs can only be met by me, and I'm the one that is sought ultimately without you even knowing in times of need. In times of need. And emotional as well. What about that pain in your heart? Who can really not only heal that pain, but understand that pain? You know, when you're complaining about a problem or you're encountering something so draining in your life that precipitates some deep pains in your heart, and you're in the midst of a serious problem, but you're searching for somebody to understand. And you can't wait until somebody sits with you and they give you the hope that they're going to understand and hear you, only to, nod, and then they say, okay, and then at the end they just leave. Or they express sympathy, but you always say, like, you're still not understanding. No, it's not what you think. It's more than that. Say, yeah, no, I understand, it's a problem. Say, no, it's not just a problem. Can you see my desperation? Have you run into those situations? Where you're pleading for somebody to fully recognize and understand the magnitude of your problem, of the pain inside of your heart. And where you feel so hopeless when people nod or shake their heads saying, I don't get really your pain. Or your pain is unjustified, or, you know what, I understand, but clearly they don't understand. How do you feel in those times? It's very difficult, isn't it? Remember the father of Joseph? Remember that story? Where his children, who ultimately abducted Joseph, right? Kidnapped him and threw him away. He grieved so much over the loss of his child. Then his second child gets, as well, he also ends up being arrested in Egypt. So he loses 2 children. What kind of pain does a father have when he loses 2 children? Who can understand that pain? Nobody understands the pain of a father or mother when they lose their children. No matter how much you say, I understand. You're not going to understand. So the father of Joseph, of Yusuf, Yaqub, Jacob, what did he say to his children? When he was trying to explain to them his pain, he realized right away they cannot understand his pain. What does he say? إِنَّمَا أَشْكُ بَثِّي وَحَزْنِي اللَّهِ. You know what he says? I'm going to complain and share my grief with only the one who can understand me. Who is that? Allah. Nobody can comprehend it. So he says, I'm going to save myself because you're not going to get it. How much comfort did he get when he realized there's a creator who understands my pain? Oh my goodness, what a relief. Now what Allah is telling us is that I know about your pain and your emotional needs even when you don't even know your emotional needs yourself. That's how much I know them. I know them better than you know them, fully. And He's nearer to you than your jugular vein. That's the Samad. Does that make sense? And not only is He aware of them, but He's the one who will fulfill those emotional, spiritual, and physical needs, all needs of everyone in creation, all the times. Any questions about the definition of As-Samad? Any questions? That's what As-Samad means that you constantly read in this short chapter. The one who is sought for all needs by everyone in creation eternally. Few important points to reflect on regarding the name, the attribute of God As-Samad. They eternally be sought, in a couple of words, description. They eternally be sought. As I said, everyone needs Him in everything. We've explained that. Another key point. He satisfies your needs in a different way than how human beings satisfy your needs. You know, when you want help with something, you want somebody to help you with a problem. So you explain it to them. You know, you go out of your way to try to make them understand the problem so that they can help you appropriately. Isn't it true? You say, please, you know, I need you to go talk to this person and really don't tell them that I mentioned anything, but please tell them that I didn't mean it. They say, no, don't worry about it. I'll just go talk to them. I say, no, you understand. No, I want you to not mention I said anything. I want you to really be very sympathetic. I say, no, don't worry. I'll just say. He says, you understand. I want you to really be gentle, right? You go out of your way to make them understand how you want the need to be fulfilled. Isn't it true? Like, we run into this. Or when somebody's just trying to listen to you. Or to carry out any of your, as I said, emotional, spiritual, physical needs. But then at the end you find that's like they're not really doing it. They fulfilled it partially. Familiar with this or not? How much? And we know instinctively, like, I didn't get what I was looking for. It wasn't quite the satisfaction that I desired. So clearly there are creation around us fulfill our needs. What Allah says about Himself is that I am as-samad. I fulfill your needs. I am sought in the fulfillment of needs, but guess what? Guess how I fulfill them? I fulfill them in the only way they can be fulfilled. Perfectly. No one can give you perfect fulfillment of your needs except who? Allah. Why? Because He created the need itself. And He's the one who possesses the infinite repositories and the infinite treasures of His mercy that nobody else has. To fulfill the needs beyond your imagination, even if you don't even know yourself how to fulfill them. Right? Ask those who are spiritually quenched. They'll tell you this, like, I'm quenched, I'm so tranquil, I'm something in my heart that is so like satiating, and I know it, and I can't explain it. That's from Allah. Or when you really feel even someone walking into your path in life and delivering that satisfaction for you, guess what they're coming from? Who placed them in your path? It's also Allah. So everything goes back to Him. He is the one who utilizes or uses His creation to come to the aid of everyone else, right? To help fulfill needs. But the one who ultimately fulfills it perfectly in the best way it can be fulfilled is Allah Azza wa Jalla. Another key point about the name As-Samad. Who do you go to fulfill your needs? You need money. Who do you go to? Give me a description of a person you would go to for fulfillment of that need. I'm poor, I need money. Who do I go to? Somebody as poor as me? Please?
Parents.
Well, parents, right? Assuming they have something to share. You go to your parents. You go to somebody who has more than you, right? But what else do you need? They can have a lot of money, but guess what? They might be saying, I don't have anything. They might be stingy, right? Cheap. So you go to somebody who has a lot of money and generous, right? So you go to the source that can help you fulfill your need. What if you need physical healing? You're sick. Somebody has cancer. Where do they go? Doctor, right? But not even any doctor. They go to a specialist, like an oncologist. Because the oncologist is the one specializing in fulfilling a need. What is the need? Healing for cancerous cells, right? To remove them. That's who you go to. You need knowledge. Supposedly you go to a teacher, not here in the university. They'll turn, oftentimes they even close the door. I remember this over a decade ago, not your professor. But the engineering professors, goodness, they'll have you hanging at the door, tons of students, and they'll shut the door after half an hour. Like the office hour is over, that's it. They'll shut the door. Like, good luck. And even I remember one specific one, I used to go, if I asked him, I don't think I asked him one question throughout the semester. Because he was like, Sheikhs is why are you coming to waste my time? I have research to do, right? It's like I am something important. Don't waste my time. But you go ultimately to somebody who possesses knowledge to fulfill the need for knowledge, for understanding. True? So, as I said, they may or may not give you what you're looking for, even though they're the specialist, they're the source that you can seek. Now, since you're going back to the source of the thing that can fulfill it, what is unique about Allah, God Almighty? You notice He created everything? Everything. So, who could better know about your own body than the creator of it, this complex system that I have, right? Who would know better than the one who created it to ultimately fulfill its needs? So that's why he says, all matters return back to me in every single affair of your life that you just don't know, including your own body. The one who created it would know about it the most, would know about its pains, needs, how it works, to the minutest cell in it, right? And the blood in it, and the brain and the limbs and organs and everything, the one who created those things. So since he's the one who created those things, the source is who? God. Spiritual needs the same thing. Emotional needs the same thing. Every single need, he is the initiator and creator of it. And of the very species or the very thing that has that need. He's the creator of it, so he's the source. Including knowledge, he is ultimately the possessor of all knowledge. If you're looking for somebody wealthy to give you wealth, he possesses all wealth. Knowledge, he possesses all knowledge. Healing, he is the healer. He's the one who created the things. So he's saying, don't forget that ultimately I'm the one that should be sought in every single need. Now, does that negate or contradict or in any way, shape, or form say we cannot seek other people? Who can answer that? Absolutely not, since people are his creation. He, in fact, sends you to the doctor to help you out. He sends you to the teacher to teach you. Essentially, creation becomes signs or reflections of his own name. So when Ghazal comes and helps me with something, guess what? That's the reflection of his attribute, the one who is sought in times of need. But he sent her my way to help me out. But it's a matter of me understanding that ultimately she's a tool. And I have to appreciate that tool as well and embrace that tool and understand that that's a gift. For somebody to come and help you, that's a gift. Appreciate that human being. Be thankful to them, but recognize they were able to deliver what they delivered to fulfill your needs only by the one who created them and put them in your path. Any questions about this? Another key point. Do you remember when we spoke of nourishment? And ultimately, if there's somebody I need to depend on for my needs in life, I also need them to live, right? Not to just give up on me and just quit life at one point, because as soon as they die, what happens? I don't have that help anymore. I have to find somebody else to fulfill my needs, right? Classic example is parents. You depend on them for every physical, emotional need. But once they die, or they get ill, or they lose their wealth, you can no longer ask your dad, right? You said we ask your father, but what if he doesn't have a job, or the mother doesn't have that money? You cannot even, and you get to a point where you cannot ask them anymore. You have to go ask somebody else, right? Now, so they themselves in their work, they depend on somebody to give them the money. And they depend on somebody else to nourish them and give them the food and the drink. As long as you're dependent on somebody else to give you food and drink, guess what? You're not sufficiently independent to be able to fulfill needs, because you yourself need. Make sense? Make sense? Who's the only one who cannot be nourished? Who does not depend in his existence and survival on anything? Only Allah. So he's the only one who is really the master, since he doesn't need anybody. Like sometimes even this happens at work. Like an employee comes to you he needs a raise. To him, to the employee, I'm the boss, right? I'm the one who says yes or no. But guess what I say? It happens to me a lot at work. I gotta check with the boss, my boss. Does that make sense? So even my decision is contingent on somebody else's decision. I depend on somebody else to give the approval for that. There's some things I can approve, there are things I cannot approve. Make sense? Does Allah need anybody's permission or approval? Why? Because he doesn't depend on anybody else, nor does he need nourishment or drink from anybody. So his survival, unlike our survival, is eternal, because it doesn't depend on anybody else. So who's the only one who can last for you? Because he outlasts everybody. He doesn't need food or drink. He doesn't reach up on where he's like, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I can't make it. Right? We can, right? We depend on others. He doesn't. So he's the only legitimate master who will always be there for you to fulfill all of your needs. Everybody else will perish. Everybody else will reach a point where they can no longer provide for you and fulfill your needs, or they might grow selfish. Or some circumstances will strip them of the ability. Maybe they're distracted. You know, when somebody gives you a lot of, emotional satisfaction, somebody that you really turn to when you're in pain. What do you want from them? To sit and listen to you and help you understand how to get out of a problem. But what if they themselves become inundated with problems? Do you notice psychologically what happens to them? Have you run across people that they're dependable, but they tell you, I can't even, I'm done. I have so much going on. I don't have it in me, I'm drained emotionally, I cannot sit and listen to you. Or if they listen to you, they're just not there, right? That's not a condition that can be applied to Allah. Because again, He doesn't depend on anybody else, nor is He conditioned by the circumstances. He's the creator of circumstances. Another key point. We mentioned that the one that you need to ultimately seek for all of your needs, or understand that He's the one who creates the tools for you to be fulfilled, including the presence of human beings in your life, needs to be somebody who's not dependent on anyone. Doesn't need to be nourished, doesn't need to be given by anybody. What else? He has to have not only permanence, right, constantly around you and there for you and doesn't die, but also he needs to possess everything. Because if I have physical needs, but it's not, am I the only one who has physical needs here? Everybody else in this room. And guess what? Everybody else in this campus. And everybody else in the city of College Park, and then Maryland and America. And then all the continents. And then not only us, but also the plants and the animals, the stars and the moon and the sun, right? We just do not understand that they have needs themselves, right? Everything in creation. Who can really possess enough material sustenance to provide for the physical needs of everything? The one who owns it all. Inexhaustible treasures. It's only Allah who owns everything, including us. He owns us. What about the spiritual needs? Imagine how many people have spiritual needs. Everything in creation has spiritual needs, right? Including the angels. How about emotional needs? Imagine billions, right? Those are the ones that we know about on this earth. Who can fulfill the needs of trillions of creation? Only the one who owns everything. He happens to have possession and ownership of everything physical, material, spiritual, and emotional, inexhaustively. So he can be the giver of everything. He doesn't need to go seek somebody's permission or say, can you please lend me some of this money to give it to somebody? Make sense? Any questions? Another key point. Another thing that is interesting about As-Samad is that he not only now is sought by everything for the fulfillment of their needs, and happens to know about every need. He knows intimately about every need of every creature, including the ant and the nucleus in the atom. But he also knows about your needs, as I mentioned before you know about your needs. The prime example is spirituality. Something inside of our hearts is aching, no matter what we have, money, power, physical strength, muscles, houses. Something inside of your heart is saying, I am in pain. Right? Sometimes it's just a matter of needing company. But there's something inside of you that needs to understand why we exist. Where am I going? Where did I come from? Am I just a random thing in this existence? Does that make sense? And a lot of people ask these questions. They have something inside that needs to be fulfilled. They don't understand even what it is. Oftentimes, he's saying, Allah, I know about that need before you even recognize you have that need. And the rest of the needs. He knows about them. By the way, even in physical disease, a lot of people, a relative of mine just found out, he's young, he's in his 30s, found out that he has stage 4 cancer. You know what stage 4 cancer is? That's like the highest. So what would happen with cancer? It's just penetrated most organs already. So by the time he found it, I didn't even know I had that need to be healed. Allah knows about it as well. Does that make sense? He knows about all your needs, emotional, spiritual, and physical, before you even know about them yourself. So when he fulfills them in the best way. Make sense? What else is true about, or is significant to know about As-Samad? Interesting that he also wants to fulfill your needs. When creation around you, sometimes they get tired of you. They're like, I just don't have time, nor the resources to help you out. Stop asking me. Amazing thing about the merciful, God, the merciful, the most merciful. He says, I want to fulfill. I'm already doing this, but I want you to know that I'm happy to fulfill them for you. Just come and ask. So for the things that you're not aware of, I'm already fulfilling your needs. Just your physical sustenance, already breathing air. Who sent us this air, right? Who allowed the organs inside of us to work without us even knowing they work? Nobody even hears the beat of their hearts. How the brain works. He's allowing it to function, allowing you to instantly get up and walk. He's fulfilling your physical needs. If we didn't have the ability to walk, we have to depend on somebody to bring us food. Isn't it true? I cannot flip pages if I didn't have an hand that responds instantly to the signal in the brain, right? So he's already fulfilling, infinite list of needs that we have. We just don't know He's fulfilling them, right? And then He says, on top of this, for the other needs that you have, I know you want me, you want fulfillment, just come and ask me. I'm very happy to fulfill them for you. That's why this name is contained in the surah, Surah Al-Ikhlas, that speaks about Him. He's essentially introducing Himself to us to say, please come and ask me. You need me so much, and I'm here for you, just come and ask. I'm the only one that can be relied on permanently to fulfill your needs. And before you even ask others, just recognize I'm the source of everything. Now, something interesting to kind of challenge our minds a little bit to think, which also like refers back to many of the points that I've talked about. And by the way, we're almost like, there are three essential headings for the things that we're going to cover. Inshallah, this topic will be complete. For Allah to satisfy all needs, I want you to think about this. If He has to satisfy and be sought to satisfy the needs of everything in all times, in all needs, what qualities does He have to have? There's a bunch of them that I've like jotted down, but I want you to help me. So for someone, things like somebody has to satisfy all needs of all creation, all the time, without end. What qualities do they have to have? I've alluded to some of them, but I want us to really think critically here, just for you to appreciate who Allah is. That nobody can do this except Allah, the One. What qualities do they have to have? Remember, fulfill the needs, all needs of everything, all things, including living and non-living things. Except in Islamic understanding, everything is living, according to our understanding, and worships as well, including the tree submits to the Creator, right? And the wall, right? So what do they have to have? What qualities do they have to have in order for them to be able to fulfill the needs of everything, all the time, in all needs?
Knowledge.
Excellent. They have to knowledge of what, by the way?
Knowledge of all those needs.
Exactly. Knowledge of all the needs and all creation. Can you imagine like what kind of knowledge does that have to be? Like for me, even my own children have twins. I don't understand what they need. Like I have to deal with two, right? I don't understand, and especially when they're like looking at me like babbling, and then I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and they're frustrated. It's funny. Yesterday I was my kids were in the back, and we're driving back home, and we talk in slang, right? Too bad we've lost classical Arabic. So I'm looking at them like, they say in Palestinian slang, who knows Palestinian here? It's like, if you say what in Palestinian slang, what is it?
Sure.
Exactly, shu or what? Or why, sorry, why? What is the why? Leish, right? Leish. We have a Palestinian here who can tell us what leish means. It's a very funny sound. But leish, so my kids are always the time, leish, leish, leish. Right, for every leish. So we're like gonna walk into the plane like last weekend, leish, right? I picked this and put it here, leish, right? I held the pen, this is like leish. Explain to me why you're holding a pen. Everything is like a why, like things that really make sense to ask why, and things that don't make sense, leish. So I figured yesterday, I was looking at them like, you know what? You don't hear classical Arabic. So I started saying, si limada. And they start, like they have no idea what limada means. Limada is classical for what? Why. And you can imagine two kids babbling in the back of like, limala, limada, limada. They're like so happy they're singing the word. So when don't be surprised when you hear my children saying limada. I took it upon myself to teach them that word and to really ask it when they want to inquire why. So they'll be saying a bunch of slang stuff, and it's like limada comes out, which is, and again, for somebody who's Arabic speaking, it'll be the strangest thing. Like, what? What did just come out of your mouth? So imagine now, two kids. I know about like few of their needs. Imagine having to know about all of their needs. Now the needs of my neighbors, my spouse, my parents, all of them. So account for every human being in my neighborhood and all of their needs. What kind of knowledge is that going to be like? Now imagine Allah. He's saying needs of every not human being. Every angel, every creature in the heavens and the earth, including the ant and the nucleus and the atom and the plant and the leaves, the trillions of leaves. I know about each and every one of them. And within each creation, all of their needs. Wow. Can you imagine this inexhaustible knowledge? So he has to be very knowledgeable. Otherwise, how can he be sought for all needs if he's not aware of those needs and the ones who have the needs? Make sense? And by the way, everything has needs. So he has to be very or infinitely knowledgeable and infinitely aware of everyone and every need. What else does he have to have? What if he knows everything, but he's not around? What does that mean? He has to be what? What an incredible, beautiful surprise. Nuruddin is an alum. So we were blessed to have him visit us. So what does he have to have? Like, imagine somebody who knows about you very well, knows about your needs, knows you by name, loves to help you. But they're in South America, right? Right? And they're like no phone or something. How are you going to get him to help you out? It's really hard. The further away the person, the more difficult. What is special about Allah? What is it? Very near. He describes this about himself. He said, I'm near. In fact, not only am I near, I'm equally near to everyone. So he's no closer to a saint than he is to, a transgressor. He's near everyone, equally. Equally. But the equally doesn't have to be few yards, right? He says about himself, I'm closer to you than your own consciousness. You know you're conscious of yourself. Can you imagine he's closer to you than your own level of consciousness of yourself? And he says, I'm closer to you than your jugular vein. By the way, there is a reason why he says jugular vein. Jugular vein means life. You literally, you cut it, you're done. So he's closer to you than your own life and your own awareness of yourself with everyone and everything. That's how close he is. So what does that suggest to you? If someone's so close next to you and you know they know about your needs, who do you call out to ask for your needs? Right away, I grab, right? I need help. But if they're further away and they're not seen, I can't ask them. But what if you become aware that they're always around you? You know you're comforted. Oh, I have them around me. Good. I can ask anytime. So that's a message to all of us. Don't worry. I not only know about your needs, I know about them before you know about them. I'm close to you, closer than you to yourself. All to comfort you and make you understand. Don't worry. I fully know them before, and you don't need to come and explain to me. Oh, by the way, inside of my heart there is this pain. I cannot explain. It's like this hope thing is not there, and people, upset, drove me nuts, and my children yelling and screaming. You don't have to go explain your problem. You don't have to utter a word. He's saying, I know. Imagine somebody looks at you, and you're really in pain. They're like, I know. I can tell in your face what you're going through. I know fully. How comforting is that? My goodness, you feel in relief, especially if the person comes to you and say, I see in your face, you're in pain. Like, or you have this thing, what's going on, bro? Like, tell me. But even better, they tell you, sit down. I can tell what's happening with you. How relieved are you? I'm like, my goodness, like an angel came to me, right? You're very relieved. Allah tells you, you don't see me, I know about every single one of your needs. Before you become aware of them, and I'm nearer to you than your own jugular vein. Who amongst us thinks about this? And imagine the healing that comes instantly to your heart if you think about just that. So the one who needs to be sought in all times of need has to be fully knowledgeable, very close to everyone and everything, to literally tell you, I know what you're going through. Somebody, it's like, I know you want to have children, like remember Zechariah? I know you want a child, I'll give him to you. He makes the impossible possible. I know you need to get the A. I know before you know it. I know it, right? I know you run into a problem with your mom. I know it. You didn't need to explain. I know it. That's Allah Azza wa Jalla. And no need is trivial, by the way. No need is trivial. But He's close to you, infinitely close. What else does He have to have? What if I have all resources, not always, some resources, I'm a human being, and like that boss, you come and ask them, they have some power in the company, and they understand your problem. They know you need a raise, you need extra cash. But then, they're aware, knowledgeable about it. Near you, they're your boss. But then when they come at the end and say, I need to do what? Get permission. What does that mean? What does that suggest to you about Allah? What is the one who is besought for all of your needs to have in order to fulfill? As opposed to that boss with the one that needed to check with the superior one.
He has to be able to, either.
Power, qadir. Fully capable and powerful to be able to execute. Not only do I know your pain, bro, but I can deliver. Now, who can deliver all the time, under all circumstances, for everyone, for every need? The one who needs to be the infinitely powerful, and that's one of the names of Allah, the all-powerful. No one can trump him. No one can compel him in any way. Nobody can stand in front of him or stop his will. He can execute everything at will. He wills it, it happens. Wow, how comforting is that? To know that the one who understands your pain completely, your needs, physical, emotional, spiritual, is very near you, knows about them before you do, and happens that he can execute anytime he wants. All powerful. And possess everything, as we said. Remember, he needs to possess all resources to be able to give everyone. Ghani, that's another name of Allah. The one who doesn't need and possesses everything infinitely. The powerful, the executor, the all-capable. And finally, this is a technical thing. Again, we talked about it. Everything has to come back to him. In his hand is all matters because he created everything. He made everything. Because I can go, for my car problems, I don't go to the butcher, right? I don't go to the, carpenter. I don't go to a teacher. I go to a mechanic. I go to the dealership or the manufacturer who made the car, who understand about every need of the car, right? I cannot listen to somebody else's advice. So the matter returns back to the hand that made the car. Make sense? Well, who's the hand? Which hand is the hand that created and nurtured everything? Only Allah. So every matter returns back to him. If we were to comprehend, we'll understand he's the healer, he's the fulfiller of all needs, physical, spiritual, emotional, because all matters return back to him, because he's the controller and the creator of everything. Any questions about this? And I want you to really, as we talk about all this, compare to your own experience with human beings and the limitations of their ability to know about your needs, then have the resources to fulfill the needs, right? And then the nearness to respond to your call for their needs, and then the ability to execute. There has to be something missing all the time, right? That's why we have a lot of people fulfilling our needs. We need a lot of people in our lives to be able to journey and take the journey in life. And the more people, the stronger you are. And the more confident you become, isn't it true? And the less support you have around you, the more desperate you become. The one who sent all these agents around you to help move you in your journey is Allah. He's saying, just remember that. Right? But ultimately, he's asking, ask me. Above everybody that comes to you, understand that I'm the one who initiates and fulfills those needs. I'm the one who deserves to be sought. For I'm the one who is actually can do it for you. And I'm happy to do it. I don't want it to be humiliated by everybody. You know those who feel that they, who hang their hopes on other human beings, and then their expectations are not met, or feel that they, if there's somebody rich around you. A lot of us, let's be honest, we really are desperate to get to know them. Why? Because we feel like we can benefit, right? And have you seen people beg? Have you seen them beg for help? Like, what happens to our own dignity when we beg? There's nothing wrong with asking, but asking the right person. You know when you ask somebody arrogant or proud of themselves, how do you feel? They make you feel like a little ant, right? Even with their just look. Like, you're asking me, right? Like, oh, you came to me, right? Even if somebody who's like, let's say you've wronged somebody, and one day you really need to go back to them. How painful is that? But you need them. They'll look at you like, here we go again. You came back, right? You have to remind you right away. You know the humiliation you feel? It's painful. Very painful. Allah wants to liberate us from this. When we recognize Allah is the source of everything, He's essentially saying, I want to dignify you. Because once you understand I'm the source of everything, you'll never subjugate yourself to everybody. Even in your own job. You never think your boss is a god. No, I'm going to do my absolute best in my work. But you know what? My own job and provision doesn't rest on you. You're nothing but a human being. How honored and dignified do you become when you feel that everything around you do not hold the keys to everything? Nothing, in fact. They're as weak and as needy as you are. That there's indeed a creator who wants to honor and elevate you and liberate you from feeling subjugated. Wallahi, by Allah, this feeling of confidence and hope that you have in your heart cannot be measured when you recognize this. This is what Islam is all about. Returning back to the true understanding of nature and where things fall. Who's the creator? Who's the created? Who's the one who controls? Who's the control? And we ultimately need to make our submissions, because guess what? We claim we're not submitting a lot of times. We're submitting to something. Even if it's our desires. How many of us, just are run by our desires? Guess what? That desire has become your God. If you cannot say no to your desire, that means you're ruled and you're subjugated. And how many of us have been subjugated to other human beings, even in matters of love? We love somebody so much, you know what happens? You feel you've lost control. This person can, literally dictate the direction you take, like run havoc with your life just because you're enslaved with a love for them. Isn't it true? Ask people in romantic relationships. They're like done. The brain is gone. They feel like there's zombies walking behind that human being just for them to be happy. Allah wants to liberate us from that. Doesn't mean that not to love, but to put things in their proper place so that our dignity and honor is elevated. We only submit to one. Submit to one. I don't have to submit to 10. It's difficult, by the way, to have multiple bosses, right? Very difficult. Extremely hard, because everybody has different needs and you need to fulfill everybody's needs. Allah says, make me happy. Submit to me and I'll make you happy. And the first fruit you'll feel is in your heart, psychologically and emotionally. So the question that I have for you now is, why did he call himself in a nutshell with this name? Remember the first rule we stated about the names of Allah? When he defined himself with these names, who is the recipient of the message? Us. Who did he define these names for? Us. So what does he want you to know about him here? And why did he place that name in the heart of one of the most important chapters in the Quran? What is his message to us? In a nutshell. If you can summarize it in a few words. What is Allah telling you in Surah Al-Ikhlas? Say Allah is one. Allah as-Samad. He's talking to me and you. He begets, does not beget, nor is he begotten, nor has he ever had an associate or a partner. What's his message beyond the oneness? What is he telling us? And why is he emphasizing this? What is his message? Summarize it for me. Statement. There's nothing wrong. Just rephrase some of the things, but I want it to be summarized in our minds and hearts, because it's a very intimate message from Allah. What does he say? You have what? You have needs. And you desperately need me, and your needs will never end. I'm the only one who can be sought for all of your needs. So what is his message? Come and ask. That's really what it is. Know me as the one who fulfills the needs, the only one who can be sought for those needs. So please come and ask me. I'm already fulfilling your needs. Just come and ask. So imagine this incredible message. Simple. Where did he put it? In which surah? The surah that we all know. Look at the message, powerful message of Allah. That's why we're covering this name today. Because of the location of the name, because most of us are not aware of this intimate, amazing connection that Allah wants to build with your relationship, where you really depend on Him and understanding He's the source of everything, so that you don't humiliate yourself. And so that you grow in love with Him. Because you know what? We love people who fulfill our needs. And we also love people who, when we seek them for need, they come to you with a smile and what? Open arms. Please ask. I'm here for you. Don't these people mean the most for us? Isn't it true? We don't like people who are not there for us. We love those 1-2 individuals in our favorite list, right? That we know we can call their number anytime we want something. But they're few. And some of us have none. Right? And even when they can, sometimes they can't help you. Allah's saying, make me number 1 on that favorite list. I'm already there for you. And I'm near you and I know about your needs. Make me number 1, you'll never be disappointed. That's the message of Surah 1, Al-Ikhlas. Can you imagine this is the actual message of the Surah? SubhanAllah. Praise be to Allah. Another extraordinary thing about this name is that this name reminds you, does it remind you of other qualities of Allah or not? It does, doesn't it? Who do you seek usually? Remember when we say you go to the source. You want knowledge, you go to somebody knowledgeable. You want healing physical, you go to the doctor. You want spiritual guidance, you go to somebody who has more spiritual understanding. You need money, you go to a rich person who's generous. So when I know that He's the one who fulfills the needs and I seek Him, that means I'm recognizing or acknowledging what? all these qualities of Allah, all the other names. Does that make sense? We need mercy. He's saying I can fulfill that. So I have to understand him and recognize him as what? The most what? Merciful. I need knowledge. Allah is the ultimate educator. He nurtures our understanding even without us knowing. Instinctively we know things. Right? Without anybody teaching us. And then he sends teachers in our paths to teach us. Spiritually, emotionally, physically, all disciplines of life. So when we recognize he fulfills that need for knowledge, we acknowledge him as the most knowledgeable. Does that make sense? When we need healing for our bodies, we're acknowledging as the healer, as Shafi, the one who heals, spiritually and physically. So by you recognizing and invoking the name As-Samad, you're acknowledging what? All the other attributes of Allah. That's why this name is also significant. Just as the merciful encompasses all the other names, the attributes. Similarly, As-Samad encompasses the other attributes. That's why it's such an essential name. And that's why that surah, that chapter, weighs a third of the Quran, because of the significance of this name. Now I have two more things, and I'm done. What do you think the need or the purpose of having needs in the first place? Because a lot of us don't want to have needs. We want to be like self-sufficient. If we just understood the purpose of needs, what happens when you have needs? What's the first instinct that you have when you have a need? I need somebody just literally help me get up. So what do I need? Somebody come and do it for me, right? So you have needs, money, health, guidance, whatever. You have needs. The question should be like, why should we even have those needs? Why didn't he just create us to not have needs, and it's much easier life? It's definitely a good thing to understand your needs, because some people, by the way, do not understand their needs. They understand the materialistic needs. Everybody knows about the materialistic needs. Everybody wants another car, or a car, or house, bigger house. Everybody knows about when you're in pain physically, I need this removed, right? Like right away. It's too painful. But the pain is pointing you to the need. If there was no pain, do we ever recognize there's cancer? This relative of mine, I told you, stage 4. He had no idea until like 3-4 weeks ago, when he felt exhaustion. There wasn't even pain. He felt fatigued and started losing weight. That was the only signal. So he felt like must be something wrong. He went and got himself checked out. Level 4 or stage 4 cancer. Already had spread without him even knowing. Why have the needs? I'm asking you. So it's good to understand you have needs, be aware of them, and then what do? Ask someone to fulfill them. What if they're fulfilled? So is that all? Is that the purpose of the need? Just to have somebody fulfill them for you and just move on? Be happy, say, hey, I got it fulfilled. Let me move on. Because we're happy when our needs are fulfilled. And then you see us forgetting the very need. Isn't it true? How many of us were ill, we got healed, and then just moved on to the next thing? And forgot that one day you needed healing and you were healed. Or somebody came and gave you the help that you needed, the material need or spiritual need, and then you forgot they gave it to you. But you say, I'm glad I'm stuck. The need is fulfilled. Is that the purpose of the need? To merely understand it's there and then have it fulfilled? What do you think? Could there be a wiser, more crucial reason for the presence of needs in our lives? What do you think? Why did Allah give us needs? All kinds of needs.
To make us humble.
Humble, exactly. Return us back, give us that perspective. Excellent. What else? Absolutely. This is a crucial thing, because we grow in arrogance when we don't have needs. We feel like, I don't need anybody. But when you have the needs, it brings you back to your own original nature. Like, I need to humble myself. I need to depend on others. What does it tell you about Allah? What is His, again, relate everything back to Him. That's our faith, really. It's relating everything back to Him. What do you think He wants you to know about Him?
Recognizing His power.
Exactly. Think of the contrary situation. Think you have no needs. When do you really go back to Allah the most? Let's be honest. What is that situation where you feel Him the most?
Sick.
Exactly. When you have what? Need. Right? Notice, when we're struggling, when we're really in a deep problem, like, oh, help me, right? Like somebody drowned, like, please, like, you start acknowledging God, right? A lot of people actually do, like, God, if you're there, just help me, right? Get me out of this. Seriously, it's amazing. A lot of people have called upon God without even knowing they're calling upon God. Right? Especially in the most desperate situations. That very need that He gave that human being or that thing at that time is pointing you to who? To Him. But most of us, when we have needs and get them fulfilled by other human beings, we do not recognize it's what? Him who fulfilled the need. So what I'm trying to say is that the purpose of the need, and it's a good need, if it allows you to know who? Your Creator. And understand He's the one that you need and depend on all the time, and the one who can fulfill that need. If you comprehend that, then the need is a good thing. And it has fulfilled its purpose. If we only thank the human being who gave us the fulfillment and became joyous and moved on, we've not understood the need, nor the wisdom of the need. Any questions about this, if it's not clear? So when you have needs, don't be annoyed, right? It's a good thing. But only a good thing if you understand where to go to fulfill it, and understand ultimately Allah is the one who can fulfill it for you. In His own way though, not in our way. Because we place conditions on God. If it elevates your understanding, your faith in Him, trust in Him, brings you closer to Him, these needs are blessings. If we had none of them, none of us will go to Allah. That's our nature. We'll not go to human beings if we don't have needs. Notice, right? But when we have needs, we go. We seek. We beg. Allah loves for you to come and ask Him. So without needs, you will never ask Him. He wants you to get to know Him. So if you have no needs, even spiritual, you'll never ask, God, guide me. I don't have the answer. I know myself, a lot of people who have found, it's interesting, their journey, spiritual journey began with a request. They said, God, if you're there, just guide me. I know of many personal, people in my family. They said, it started with that. I have no idea what's out there. I just made a humble request. I said, if you're there, just guide my heart. Because they recognize I need that thing. I have no idea if He exists or not, but I'm asking for help. And it's an amazing thing that without that need, we never ask. So when you recognize it, He wants us to ultimately understand He's the one who fulfills it. So the need is taking you to Him. That's the objective. If you don't have any questions, I'll move to the last point. Any questions? So needs are a good thing. Only if though. Right? Finally, how do we emulate? Remember, every name we end it with practical things we can do to live the name, embody it in our lives where appropriate. Emulate its standards. Every name has a message for us, not only in terms of our relationship with Allah, but in terms of how we live our lives. These names empower us in this life to become different human beings who think differently, perceive differently, speak differently, walk on earth differently, and interact differently. So I want to ask you, what are the obligations of knowing this name? How do we live it? And there are 4 or 5 things that are central here. I want you to mention some. The most obvious. What did we take today, right? What's the most significant in terms of your relationship with Allah to fulfill the most essential meaning of this name? What does Allah want us to do? The most fundamental here. I want you to name the most fundamental. It has to do with Him. What? Remember, I said it when I said, why did He put that name in the surah, in that chapter? What is His message? That pretty much is it. What is it? Can you rephrase it for us? Anybody can share this? What is His message to us with the name?
Go back to Him.
Exactly. And do what? Ask. Exactly. Recognize. He wants you to recognize you have infinite needs. You depend on me, so you need me so much for everything. Physical, spiritual, emotional, material, everything. Your very life depends on me. I'm the one that needs to be sought for all of your needs. He says, raise your hands and ask me. For the needs that you recognize. And for the needs you don't recognize, say, oh Allah, fulfill the needs I have, those that I'm aware of and those that I'm not aware of. I acknowledge you're aware of all of my needs. Does that make sense? And He loves for you to ask Him. And better, invoke Him with the name what? What name? Oh, the one, the Master, the Creator, who's more aware of my needs. Talk to Him. Remember when on Tuesday we were talking about Mary. I wish more people were there to attend and listen to the beauty of the story of Mary in the Quran. Her intimate relationship with Allah. How she invoked Allah when we recognize there is someone in her belly without having a spouse. Jesus, Isa was in her belly. How did she talk to Allah? Was she just making requests? You notice there was a conversation. How about her mother? Similarly, she was talking to Allah as a friend, not as this deity. Allah wants you to have that conversation as an intimate conversation of somebody you trust and rely on, that you know is there for you and he'll never fail you. Never fail you. He puts you on this journey for a reason. He wants you to go back to him. Ultimately, we meet him. He's saying, recognize that before you come to me back physically. Right? He wants you to talk to him. And seek him to fulfill all of your needs with full trust. Notice the condition. Full trust. So I don't place conditions of God. If you don't give me that healing right now, tonight, well, I'm not playing, right? I'm not acknowledging you as a summit, right? That's like a very immature, right, way of understanding Allah. Allah has a purpose behind everything. Every single thing, nothing is accidental with Allah. Even that cancerous cell, just one, is there for a reason. And it's a reason you don't understand, and it's the best reason. Because He's the all infinitely wise, and our wisdom is limited. One day, we'll find out why He did what He did. The limada, right? The limada. We always are like, why? Why is this happening to me? Why me, right? Why not him? Why not her? Why are they so lucky? Why do they have everything? I don't have anything, right? Why? So it's not the children just ask. We are asking it. The one who trusts, who remembers all the times when He fulfilled our needs, never distrusts. Imagine the many situations in our lives where He fulfilled our needs. He says, remember them, I'll never fail you. And I will surely deliver, but according to my timetable, and according to the way and form that I deem best for you. It's like a child asking, my kids want candy all the time. Should I just go give them candy all the time? I'm going to kill them with that. They'll lose their teeth, and sugar will go up, and they'll become, you know what I'm saying, you know, their health will go. So I don't give them. However, you give them in certain portions, and in a way that you deem best for them. That's Allah with us. And Allah, you know, He's above all analogies. He really is. We just don't know. We think we know. So He wants us to go to Him and ask Him. The question here is, are we recognizing He is the source of everything? And do we go to Him in all of our pursuits? Even when we ask people, it's okay, ask. We need to ask and interact with human beings. But as you ask, the educator for knowledge, you understand He Himself is a student of knowledge. He's the one who taught him is ultimately Allah. That I don't have to beg, I don't have to humiliate myself. Is Allah present as you make the request? And then you make requests directly to Allah and have those conversations. That's the first one. Now when He fulfills your needs, what should you do as a second practical thing? Remember people who help you out. What do we say to them if we're good? Thank you. And there's a difference between a thank you and a thank you, right? There's a minimal short thank you where you just turn away right away. And the one who gave you the thing is like, you know, this shit is like, it's exactly what I get. You know, I always help and I get a mere, empty, really insincere thank you. You know it, you sense it, right? The insincere thank yous, you know them, they're insincere. They're just not there. Spiritually you feel it, right? How do you feel about human beings that you help constantly and they're just, or only remember you in times of need? You don't think much of them, right? And eventually you stop helping. I really, a side point, imagine if we only go to Allah just for needs. What kind of relationship is that, right? I only remember you when I need something, which is a good thing, right? Go to Him for your needs. But is that all? He's just there to give you the candy, so to speak, right? What does He want to say? Acknowledge Him. He says, I deserve to be acknowledged. You acknowledge human beings, don't I need to be acknowledged? I am your creator, your nurturer, and thank me, sincerely thank me. And I'll make you happy every time you thank me. I preserve the gift for you. So acknowledge your needs for Him, ask Him, but be thankful to Him. And thankfulness to Allah implies changing our lives. Changing our lives, the way we live, who we submit to, how we live our lives, the choices we make. That's how you thank Him, not about Him. Really, He doesn't need us. He wants us to live healthily, soundly, and understand where we're going. Ultimately, to a hereafter, where we stand in front of Him for an eternal life, right? He wants us to be happy in that eternal life. Thank Him. What else? He said, now, that is in terms of your relationship with Him. What else? Remember, take this from the lessons we learned with Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most merciful. What did we say? We said last time, you recognize Him as the most merciful. You seek Him and ask Him, oh, the merciful one, have mercy on me. Right? Similarly with the Samad, you say, Ya, oh, As-Samad, the one who is sought in times of need, fulfill my needs. So what do you think, just as with the merciful, we ended with something key in terms of our interactions. What do you think is the key lesson here? Another, second key lesson. How does he want us to live our lives? Embodying the meanings of as-Samad with human beings. Similar, in parallel to the thing we mentioned about Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Remember how we were talking about embodying mercy to receive mercy, right? Because we always want to take. He's asking us for something higher here. He's saying we're always seeking. I want you to do what? What? What's the opposite of seeking? Giving. So what do we do here? And those will be the ones who fulfill and live this name in its all, with all of its beauty, and really get closer to Allah, because they get what this name is about. What do?
Be generous.
What is it?
Be generous.
Generous, especially with what? Because I can be, listen, I can come to you right now and give you $1,000. Is that a fulfillment of the need as-Samad, the name as-Samad? No, not necessarily. The Samad had to do something before the giving. What is it? Before I give you. What if you don't need the money? Right? I'm just giving an example. I can be generous with you, but you don't need it. So, or you can be wanting, you might be wanting ice cream and I give you candy. Right? What is it? Go ahead.
Recognizing the need.
Exactly. How many of us, I ask you, bother to ask the question as I recognize my own needs? How many people around you I really know about their needs? And I care enough and I'm concerned about their needs to find out. Go ask couples in marriage relationships. By and large, especially with the men, they really didn't know about the needs of their wives. See, I'm just giving you a simple example. Or parents with their children, rarely. Yes, there are situations where there are, but and among friends, what if your friend doesn't know about your needs? Is that a friend? Really, how do you think about your friend if they don't know about any of your needs? It's not much of a friend. It's a superficial relationship. Don't you notice the relationships deepen when the person you interact with really not only know about your needs, because I can know about your needs and not bother. They're concerned about your needs and know about them and sympathize with them and actually make an effort to know about them, and then what do? Once they know them, they try to help you to fulfill them. And it doesn't have to be a materialistic type of need. Physical, emotional. Those are the deepest, most amazing people who have in our lives. Isn't it true? Allah wants us to relate it back to as-Samad. To say, if I'm the one, I'm the creator. One of my greatest qualities is I'm someone who is sought in times of need. He's asking us the question, if you understand this name, he's saying, he asks us the question, are you someone who is sought in times of need? I ask you seriously, answer yourself. How many of us here, we feel that we are sought by others around us, be it family, friends, strangers, for their needs? That they see in us the capacity, the generosity, the sympathy to fulfill our needs, and they come to us happily, trustingly, hopefully, with hope. And how many of us don't have that? Nor do we even care about asking, do I care about people around me and their needs? And not to give them the candy when they want ice cream, thinking I'm great with them. Because they don't want the candy, they wanted the ice cream, right? Did I care enough to understand they needed ice cream and not candy? That takes an extraordinary spirit to not only just ask directly, to find out what you need. And understand there's no need that is trivial. You know, people around us who say to you, when you say I need something, say, it's not important. Come on, grow up. What if that thing is so important to that person? Sure, we can have wrong choices, but what if, let's not think of bad things that people want, right? Really, something permissible that they want. Could be that candy. And you're thinking to yourself, hey, poor people around them, what are you asking for? That's a suggestion that you have no concern for their needs. Does Allah trivialize our needs? Do you notice? Do you know that the Prophet said, even if your shoelace breaks, go ask Allah to help you with that. Nothing is trivial. And when we don't trivialize the needs of creation around us, that's when you become extraordinary, like Prophet Muhammad. He never trivialized and somebody's need for a smile. How many of us interact with others and we know they need that smile? They're feeling bad, they're feeling down. I just need to recognize they need the smile as much as I need it. We need smiles. We're always looking for them. We're looking for somebody to make us laugh, understand our pain. What about the others around us? They also have those needs. Here's what Allah said. He's saying the greater capacity to find out and know the needs of people around you and make an effort, even if you yourself cannot fulfill them, to make them fulfilled by seeking other ways to fulfill that need, the greater you are in exhibiting this quality, the closer you are to my quality as-samad. Essentially, you're closer to Allah. And if you exhibit that quality with other human beings, Allah starts fulfilling more of your needs. That's even a greater incentive. Because you care enough. That's when somebody reaches higher levels of spirituality with Allah. It's not merely just about acknowledging, I believe in Allah, yeah, great. No. It's about changing your life. About you now exhibiting those qualities yourself with people around you, everybody around you. I have that question for all of us. Really, are we among those whose resources, mental resources, time, physical, spiritual, is there for creation around us? Prophet Muhammad was like this in every way. Allah says about Musa, and by the way, I'm ending in a minute or two. You know what he says about Moses? He says, وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي in Surah Taha. You know what that expression means? He said, I put you together. Istana'a, it comes from the word manufacture. So Allah manufactures everybody essentially, creates everyone, puts us together. He says, I put you together for me. One of the explanations of that is like, okay, he's dedicated to Allah, clearly. Okay, that's a good meaning. What else? It means everything in his life, in Moses' life, is for the service of the creation of Allah. In our case, that means, is your time being given in any way to others? How about your expertise? How about your intellect, your knowledge, your emotions, your limbs physically? Are you there helping people physically, spiritually, with your time, with your effort, or you don't have any time for anybody? Or you feel like you just don't have it in you emotionally? What has Allah utilized in you? He utilized all of Moses, all of Musa in his life towards his service. He says completely, whatever you're going to exist for, you're existing for me, and you're going to go out and serve everyone around you. Guiding them, helping them, being there for them, understanding their needs. I ask you, of all the resources that Allah has given you, your time, your knowledge, your expertise, your emotions, your spirituality, how many of those have you allotted a little bit of towards serving the creation of Allah? Have you thought of this question? Now, the closer you are to that, the closer you are to the name As-Samad. And Allah will love you more as a result of this. That's the ultimate fulfillment of the name. That you go to Him for your needs and understand He's the fulfillment or the source of fulfillment, and He's the one who really is being sought without you even knowing. So go to Him with the needs you know about and you don't know about, and thank Him when He fulfills. Realizing He's the only one who can fulfill them in the best way, but give Him the trust to take care of it in the way He wants to take care of it for you. And then to say, you know what? I love Allah as-Samad. Let me go out and be there for people. But not just giving. No. What's specific about this name is to understand their needs. I'm telling you, your relationships will change completely. The Prophet said, even your smile, go around searching who needs a smile. Wallahi, sometimes we don't even give the smile. You know somebody needs it, definitely they're looking at it like, please smile. Wait, please smile. And you're just, no. No. I'm not giving it, right? We're mean. Sometimes we can be really mean with the creation around us. Look at families. Like a lot of fathers coming to the house that deliberately go from laughing at work to like putting on a frown as they come in. Why? Selfishness. Because they don't care. And they're not connected to the name As-Samad. So you'll become an extraordinary human being, but you're not just doing it for the sake of being good. No. Because you're thinking, I want to emulate the qualities of the Creator. I want to draw nearer to Him. Because that's my journey. To change my life for His sake. Understanding His creation deserve that fulfillment of their needs. So the Prophet said in a hadith that the creation of Allah are His dependents. And the best of you to Allah, the closest to Allah, are who? The one most beneficial to people around you. In fact, He didn't just say human beings. What did He say? Everything, including the plant. You know the plant has needs. I feel so awful about this plant they put in my office at work, and it died. Because I'm terrible at maintaining anything. And then one day when it was in a corner, like, oh my goodness, it's dead. It needed water, and I didn't know. Like I was just a bum, right? And I honestly felt awful. Like, it was desperately calling me to give it water, right? And I failed it. You know, the plant is asking you for help. Do you care enough about it to say it needs that water to grow and to give it that water, sensing it's a creature? And you take pleasure and you think of a reward from your creator. And you think, just as I watered that plant, he'll water me what I need. Not just physical watering, spiritual watering as well. Rest assured, every time you fulfill someone's needs and go out of your way to find out what they need, he'll be there fulfilling more of your needs. You matter that much to him. But he wants you to care about other creation around you. And believe me, you know what the first benefit you'll feel? Pleasure in your heart. You know when you help people, how do you feel? Oh my goodness, you feel pleasure, right? You automatic spiritual satisfaction. Just from seeing them smile. You try it with kids. You just give them a toy, they're like so happy. And you feel good. You understand somebody's needs and they like look at you with happiness and you're happy, right? So right away Allah places in your heart a joy that cannot be quantified when you just fulfill a need. So recognize indeed the needs of others. And when I say recognize the needs of others, what do I talk about? Just physical? Because most of us are focused on this. No. How about their emotional needs? How many of us scared to ask, how many people around you are grieving? Have tough circumstances that they just need a shoulder to lean on. Am I a shoulder for people to lean on? Do I understand really their pain in their relationships and what they're asking for in life? That's a deeper level of understanding. So physical, emotional, and spiritual. Am I there to help people find their spiritual way and meet that internal desire? They might not even know about it. How about if I help them know about that need? Right? The greater your ability to exhibit this concern for all needs of creation around you, including plants and animals, right? The greater you are as a human being and the closer you are to that quality. I bring it back to the question, how many of us are doing this? And how many of us, and by the way, one way to answer it is whether or not you care about the needs of others, is to ask yourself, how many people come to me? Very simple answer. Do you have people around you who come to you? With pleasure, trust, and you feel like when they come to you, you're happy? And how many of us have none? None. Even in our families don't come to us. Friends, whoever. Because nobody looks at us as a source of concern, like as a source that can fulfill needs. And how many of us, people run away from them, right? Run away. Because they know not only are you not going to fulfill their needs, you're going to actually make it worse for them. You're going to remind them of their wrongs, you're going to do this and that. Make sense? Ask yourself, that, brothers and sisters, defines who you are as a human being and your level of understanding of the name of Allah, someone and how close you are to Allah. If Allah loves you, if really, really He loves you, considers you among the highest, He'll make you somebody who fulfills, understands the needs of others as much as possible, and go out making an effort night and day to fulfill those needs. And not ever trivializing a need, including the dog and the cat, and the plant and the rose. And be constantly connected. And not ever saying, I don't have time and energy. Because you do. You have God-given gifts. Extraordinary potential. Don't waste it, so to speak. That's a name, as-Samad, and these are the practical things. Hopefully, till next week, Thursday, please try to ask yourself these questions. See, how can I fulfill this name, the meaning of this name, by going to Allah to fulfill my needs and thanking Him? Whether He answers or doesn't answer, He is answering, but you may not understand how He's answering. And to call Him and invoke Him with this name. And number 2, recognize and make an effort to know about the needs of others, and make an effort to do what? Fulfill the needs. Any questions? Because I'm done. Right? I was hoping to go into more names. There are names related to this. But I honestly feel, praise be to Allah, Allah has meant for us to just cover this. And it's not about quantity again. Because we're going to get next time, let me think about really, there are names related to this name. Allah not only knows about our needs and fulfills them, but He delivers and answers. I was intending to cover the name Al-Mujib, the one who answers all of your requests. Al-Mujib, He mentions in the Quran a lot. It's very related to this name. He says, whatever you ask me, I'll fulfill, but you need to trust. We didn't have time to cover that today. Inshallah, at another occasion we will do. So final note, I'll be back on Thursday. I'm actually on travel Sunday through Thursday. My flight arrives at BWI at 4:30. So I might be a little bit late, but I'm coming inshallah, unless the flight was cancelled or something. And I'll send you a message from Puerto Rico. That's where I'll be. So I'll send a message and let you know. But inshallah, I'm coming. I might be as late as Maghrib. So it might be, inshallah, I don't anticipate delays, but I might be here after Maghrib. Stick around. Do come. We're on schedule for next week with 2 more names, inshallah. Actually, 1 to 2 more names. But any questions, comments?
In some translations, it says, for someone, it says eternal and absolute.
Yes.
So absolute, like,
Yeah.
you would.
Yeah. So first, a samad. Samad in Arabic means the one who, remember when we emphasized the notion of outlasting? The one who can really last out, right? Remember we said the one who doesn't need food and drink? Like they call people who can last in their thirst and hunger in Arabic, samad. Oh, he was able to yusmud. Yusmud in Arabic means the one who can bear. So that's the absolute. Absolute in the sense that he doesn't need anything. He's absolute. He's one. He's doesn't need anything to depend on in his existence. Make sense? Absolute, right? And what is the second one you mentioned?
Eternal.
Eternal, yes. Eternal in the sense that since he doesn't depend on anything, right? He outlasts everything, but his outlasting doesn't even have an end. Eternal. So samad means to last. But in our case, we can last for so long, and eventually we buckle. Either by being tired, by needing food, we cannot last, or we die. He doesn't die. Remember, Allah has no beginning or no end. So samada in this case means he persisted and lasted, but in his case, it's an eternal lasting. He has no end. Make sense? Yeah. That's, again, all these are meanings of it, but they're integrated with this overall definition, the one who is sought for the fulfillment of all needs by everyone eternally. Notice the word eternally is emphasized here. So he lasts. That's why we go back to him, because he lasts. And he doesn't depend on anyone. By the way, in the definitions you'll find in the translations, it's always missing something. So they'll give you a word or two that has essentially, like, for me, like, what does that have to do with me, right? Like, I don't understand, like, talk my language. You notice the beautiful names, like, they have everything to do with us. In beautiful, intimate words. They ultimately have to do with your relationship with him. He wants you to know him as such. It's not just for strangers or aliens. He's saying, please know me as a samad for you. And when you comprehend that name and all the other names, you grow in love with Allah because you see how much he is there for you to fulfill your needs. First time, we talked about, second, the merciful. We saw how much we need mercy, how he's there to deliver that mercy. Today we saw him being sought for all needs. We didn't go over that name, the one who delivers when you ask him. See, everything has to do with you. Wow. Look at how tiny you are, yet we matter that much to the Creator. Any other questions or comments? Don't be shy to ask anything. Now I want to say something important. Don't think your presence is also accidental. Allah wills for us to know about him. Does that make sense? So today he willed for you to know about him as a son. He put in your heart, now, if you have that understanding. So I wanted to really leave saying, Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah. Thank you to Allah. You allow me to come intimately familiar with one of your names. That's an incredible gift. We could be outside and not even understanding any of this, or learning about it. So the fact that he brought you, he walked you to this place, you made the decision to come and hear about him, nothing like that. That's why gatherings of knowledge in Islam are very elevated. We know that the gathering of knowledge is surrounded by angels, where the mercy of Allah descends on people seeking to learn about him. You mentioning him, he mentions you. Remember, what are we talking about today? We're not even talking like jurisprudence or anything. No, we're talking straight Allah, right? Every single time we mention his name tonight, whether you're speaking it or listening, he's mentioning you. I want you to be aware of these things as you leave tonight, because this was nothing trivial what occurred in the last 2 hours. Wow. Leave appreciating it, saying, Ya Allah, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn about you. Allow me to continue to learn about you and to live up to those standards and emulate those qualities and never forget about you as a samad. This is a key thing to leave with. Don't forget, inshallah. But any other? I have one question. Can you make them two? We're clear about the action items, right? Clear? Can I make an attempt? So please remember, did you attempt the action items for the name Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim? Seriously. Did we or did we not? I hope we did. That's how you live these names. Even if we leave at the end of the semester with 5-6 names and you really, really made an effort, wallahi, you possess treasures of knowledge. We ask Allah to guide us to the straight path. We ask Allah to make us among those who know Him as As-Samad, as the source of fulfillment of all needs. We ask Allah to make us aware of our needs, spiritual and physical, and to seek none but Him in the fulfillment of our needs. We ask Allah to make us among those who remember Him night and day. We ask Allah not to make us among those who forget Him. We ask Allah to allow us to come closer to Him, to draw nearer to Him with the knowledge of His attributes, and to invoke Him with His attributes. We ask Allah that He blesses us with actions and behavior and conduct that pleases Him. We ask Allah that He is happy with us, and our families and our friends. We ask Allah that He makes us tools of enlightenment for creation around us. And we ask that He grants us tranquility and comfort and guidance and a fulfillment of all of our needs, spiritual, physical, and emotional. And to make us among those who know or seek to know about the needs of others and make an effort, absolute effort to fulfill the needs of people and creation around us. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خير. May Allah bless and reward each and every one of you. Assalamu alaikum. Peace and blessings of Allah upon you.
Omar, are you going to take care of this? The red one?